Good evening. My name is Tracy Craig. I'll be moderating tonight's meeting. This is Alameda County Environmental Health Department's meeting to discuss the proposed cleanup plan for the 4,400 Piedmont Avenue site in Oakland. It currently operates as the Ken Betts Suds machine, which is a combination gas station and car wash. We have two attendees, and this is a webinar. What that means is that you don't have audio or visual feed, but we're happy to promote you to panelists so that we can see you. So John, why don't you go ahead and offer that up to our two attendees, if you would. Couple housekeeping things tonight. If you don't want to be promoted and just want to listen in, if you'd like to ask a question, please use the question and answer box, or you can raise your hand and John Permani will unmute you. Again, I'm Tracy Craig. I'm moderating tonight's meeting. John Permani is managing all of the controls. And then next slide, please. We have a short presentation. It's about 20 minutes long, and we'll follow that by questions and answers. Important to note right now, we're in the public comment period for the secondary source removal work plan, which we'll talk about more today. And we'll go through our agenda, 20 minutes, site overview. We'll discuss the work plan, talk about measures that will be taken to protect the community during that work, how we plan on communicating with the community, what our schedule is, and then most important, we'll leave time at the end to answer any questions or get input from you. If you have questions during the presentation, please just raise your hand and we're happy to stop and address those. And so I'd like to quickly just go through the regulatory agencies and who's on our call. So this is, again, is Alameda County Environmental Health Department's public meeting. Dylan Rowe is the chief, and she was supposed to be here tonight, but she had a family emergency. But we do have Paresh, who's the program manager for the local oversight, and then also Eva Hay, who is the case manager. Will you both just raise your hands for folks? Thank you. And then City of Oakland, they are not in attendance tonight, but they cover general compliance of the property. And then when we actually do the cleanup work, the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, make sure that the air quality remains at standards that are protective of public health. They also manage any kind of air quality complaints, and their information is listed there. And then we also have the owner of the property here tonight, and that is Carla Betts. And Carla, would you raise your hand for me, please? Thank you. And then their environmental consultant is Pangea Environmental Services. Bob Clark-Raydell is a professional engineer in California. He's designed this plan and he'll be presenting on it tonight. We also have Gettler Ryan here, and that's our construction contractor performing this work. And Mike's camera is not on, but he is here. And then finally, I've already introduced myself. I'm Tracy Craig, and John and I work together. The site is located at the corner of Piedmont Avenue and Pleasant Valley. You can see it there. Again, it operates as a gas station and a car wash. Just a quick site overview. It's operated as a car wash gas station since 1972. You folks can read the slides, but they were getting rid of some soil that was contaminated with petroleum products, and that was determined that there was an accidental release of some petroleum that requires further cleanup. Common occurrence at gas stations these days. Yep. And we did conduct some site investigations following the discovery of that, and we found that groundwater and soil contain petroleum products. You can read the different constituents here. There are no significant impacts to soil vapor. So soil vapor is the air between soil particles. If you imagine a sponge and all the little holes in that, that's where soil vapor likes to hang out, and there isn't any soil vapor impacts, but soil and groundwater do need to be addressed. And I think now I'm going to turn this over to Bob Clark-Raydell to go through the cleanup plan, what's proposed, and then I'll take it back when we get back to a certain part of the presentation. John, can you move the slide, please? Hey, Bob.
Great, thank you, Tracy. This slide shows the locations of the sampling that we have been done. It's been done at the site, and there's been investigation of contamination found around the tanks and around the dispensers. And right now they're in the process of, they've replaced the tanks and they're in the process of installing new dispensers and trying to get the car wash, everything back up to speed to serve the public. And so this slide shows the locations of all the investigation. Most of the work is around the tanks and the dispensers. Next slide, please. So this removal work plan, there's the public comment period we are in now. The removal work plan talks about the findings, of course, and has all the steps we plan to do to clean up the secondary source removal. Basically, what secondary source means is it's petroleum hydrocarbons that have been released from the system, and it's near the equipment, and we want to get that out now to help protect human health and the environment. And there may be some residual left after that removal that will be addressed in the future. But right now, it's really just by getting the bulk of the mass out of the ground and then getting the station put back together. There are measures in this work plan for how we do protect air quality for the community benefit. And then we will have maybe later monitoring of groundwater or whatnot to confirm that the site has been adequately cleaned up. And of course, the county will be addressing any public comments before this work plan is formally approved and implemented. Next slide, please. So the gist of the work is a dig. It's just an excavation. So we are going to, before we start digging, we got to pull some water, that's rainwater that's collected around the tanks. And then we're going to dig up a bunch of dirt all around the tanks and get that out of the ground and transport it to appropriate licensed facilities, and then fill it up with cement slurry until we get up to about a foot below grade. And then we'll put a little gravel and resurface. And then there'll be some sampling to document some conditions in the soil. And there'll be a nice report that comes together and talks about the completion of the activity. This work will be happening during the hours of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and could also happen on Saturdays between 4 a.m. and 4 p.m. Next slide, please. This aerial map shows the excavation areas. As you can see, the yellow is the location of the current tanks, where the old tanks were, and the new tanks are presently in the ground, covered with gravel, 5 feet exposed. And the green areas show the areas we're going to be digging to get the contaminated soil off the property. Next slide. And Tracy, did you want to talk about the?
Go ahead and talk about this, since you'll be doing
Sure.
the actual air monitoring.
So this slide is about protecting the community with the air quality monitoring. We will be out there monitoring the air with a field meter for volatile organic compounds, and there are trigger levels that if we exceed a certain level, we stop work and implement more mitigation measures. And we have other procedures for keeping the soil wet and keeping the odors down. But there are certain levels that once they're triggered, we have to stop and revisit that. And there's also dust monitoring with fixed meters and portable meters to ensure that there's not inappropriate dust in the air. We haven't had a problem with dust in the past out here, so we don't anticipate a problem with dust. But there will be some odor here and there. We want to keep it to an absolute minimum. I will say the excavation has been set up in a manner that is in slot trenches, so there's going to be limited digging on any one day. Just so you know, there'll be a little bit of activity to get some stuff out of the ground, and it'll be relatively short in duration, and then they'll fill the hole with cement and resume the following day. So instead of being a fast excavation where we don't have the access to get in there and dig fast and be done quickly, it's going to be more of a little bit longer process, but just with very brief activity each day. Next slide, please. This slide is showing some pictures of typical soil handling at a site, with soil being dumped into trucks and with protection of of storm drains with silt fences and silt and fabric to keep particulates and runoff from getting into the storm drain, and controls for making sure trucks don't track a lot of dirt off the site and onto the roads where it can get into become a stormwater issue. So we do have a plan, the city, that's been approved, and that's what we have so far. Next slide, please. And the truck management. Tracy, do you want to talk about the truck? You said you wanted to cover this.
Sure, I can certainly cover this. So our trucks will adhere to a traffic control plan that's specified by the city of Oakland. Trucks will actually be staged off-site so that they're not idling too long on the site. We will not be parking on residential streets, which is typically a big concern of folks. And trucks will be cleaned before they exit the site. We'll have flaggers to help them enter the site and exit the site safely. Regularly monitor the trucks so that they're in good working condition. And you can see here what the truck route is. So down Pleasant Valley Avenue, Grand Avenue to 580, and depending where the soil will be disposed of, they'll go one way or the other. And then our next slide is simply just about communications. The site will have a site signage with contact information on it. My number will actually be on there. If there are any kind of concerns about odors, I'm your first line of defense. You can call me. I answer my cell phone at all hours, and I will immediately call Bob and we'll address the situation as quickly as we can. You can imagine this dirt's been under the ground for quite some time, so it's probably got some odors, and we'll use lots of methods to control those, but there'll be fleeting odors here and there. So we want to make sure that we're not inconveniencing our neighbors too much while we're doing this important work. We will distribute a work notice that will come from Alameda County 5 days before the work begins, so people know that the work is happening and can prepare accordingly. And then we'll be issuing environmental reports and air monitoring results, and those will all be available on Alameda County's GeoTracker database site, and we have a link to that in one of the upcoming slides. So our schedule is a little bit complicated. As we were saying, we have a public comment period right now on the secondary source removal plan. It ends on May 29th. You're welcome to send comments into Alameda County, and we have a slide on how to do that. We're particularly interested in hearing from our constituents that are interested in this work. Before the secondary source removal plan is approved or the work starts, Bob and his team will be submitting an assessment report and then actual plans and specifications that detail how that work will be done. And then Alameda County, once they look at that and look at the public comments, we anticipate that we'll be approving Pangea to begin conducting the work. And then before, as I said, we will submit a work notice 5 days before to the community so that you know the work is going on. The environmental cleanup work will begin in June. And Bob, it lasts about what, 3 to 4 weeks? Not that long.
That's the plan.
Yeah. So it will be conducted quite quickly. We could actually conduct it a lot faster if we were doing a huge dig, but as Bob said, we're doing a very controlled dig so that we can manage odors and dust very carefully. And then our communications are ongoing. As I said, I'm always available on my cell phone. My number will be on the fence to call, and I'm always available for questions or if people have concerns. All right, so here's the public comment information again. It ends May 29th, so lots of time to review that. The secondary source removal work plan can be found at the GeoTracker website. There's a link right there. To provide comments or ask questions, you can certainly call me at any time. You can email me, or if you want to be old school, you can snail mail them to me as well. So, and this presentation will also be on GeoTracker. And I believe that concludes our presentation for this evening. So certainly would like to open up. We have 3 guests. We will be recording this. I think you saw that in the beginning, and putting it up on YouTube. So if there's other interested residents or people in the area, they can always watch it. Again, they can always call me if they just would like a download on the information. So I'm going to open this up for public comment. And if you'd like to comment, you can simply raise your hand and we'll unmute you, and we will promote you to a panelist.
For those participating via phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute
Okay.
yourself.
Okay, I'm going to give it just a couple minutes and okay, I'm going to assume that we don't have any comments from our audience or questions. I want to reiterate, I'm available if you don't want to speak in a meeting that's being recorded. You can certainly call me, and you can call me right after this meeting or at any time that's convenient at 510-334-4866. I like work closely with the county, and I'll make sure that their comment or question is addressed in an expeditious fashion. So I think I'm going to give it just another 20 seconds, and then we will end the meeting. Okay, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us again. We look forward to your comments if you have any. We know you had other things you could have done tonight, so we appreciate your attendance and your interest. Thank you.